Right, so welcome back to a new one on this channel, and I guess if you're here is because you want to know about the conditionals of the model cycles. And I'm talking about the nay, the fill, the pre, and so on and on and on. Just to get into the groove, we will start with the easy one and then move on to the more complicated ones. Everything on this guide is in chapters. If you look at the description or the timeline, you can jump to a section or skip the ones you don't want. If you like this, please like and subscribe. This channel is supported by viewers only. If you want to buy me a coffee to say thanks, you can. You have links at the description for PayPal, YouTube Thanks, and Patreon. And one more thing, if you're looking for a deep dive to learn how to use the rest of the device, check the cars, or again, the links at the description, or maybe you can go to this channel and look the deep dive of the model cycles. Alright, so of all the conditionals that you get, the easiest one to understand is the A and the B. Alright, so I'm going to be adding a 4 in the floor, just, 4 different kicks. And I'm going to be adding 1 to the 15 right here. So it's going to sound like this. And since we have no conditionals, the cycles, the loop is going to be always the same. The main point is that we can't change this. Stay on grid recording. I'm going to press the 15, hold it, and I'm going to move this. And you will go through all the different options. Pre, not pre, nay, first, then the percentages, which is a different conditional. And at some point, you're going to find something that says 2, 2, 3, 3, 1, 2, something like that. The one I want to choose is the 1 and then 2. Now, in the case of 1, 2, it means that it's going to trigger the first of 2 cycles. And this is why it's called AB. A is going to be when the trigger is going to play, and B is the number of loops or cycles of the pattern. So, if I play it, the first cycle, this kick is going to play. But when it plays again, the second cycle, this kick is not going to play. I'm going to play it in 3, 2, 1. Plays. Okay, not plays. And then there we go. It plays again, and then not playing. Everything is about cycles in this case. Not playing, and then not playing, and so on and so on and so on. All right, so this is how it works. Now let's do a few more just to make sure that you get it. I'm going to press this one, I'm going to hold it, and now I'm going to go to a different conditional. And it is that you get a lot more. So in this case, I'm going to select 2 of 2. And if you think about this, it's going to play on the second cycle of 2 cycles. I'm going to stop everything just in case, and I'm going to be playing it, not going to play, and the second cycle, it plays. And everything starts over, not going to play, and second cycle plays. And over and over and over. I'm going to do a few more. I'm going to go right here, hold it. I'm going to move this, and in this case, if we keep moving, notice that you have a lot more. In this case, I'm going to say 1 and then 3. I'm going to be playing it. It means that it's going to be playing the first of 3 cycles. And this is how it works. We need to count, right? So I'm going to be playing in 3, 2, 1. First cycle, plays. Second cycle, not playing. Third cycle, not playing. Everything starts over. First cycle, second cycle, not. Third cycle, not. And it starts over. First cycle, it would play. So this is how it works. I'm going to maybe do one more, because you have a lot of different options. For example, you have 3, 3, then you go to 4 cycles. Then if you keep moving forward, you go to 5 cycles. And all of this is about counting. In this case, I'm going to do, because I guess that you guess the idea of how this works, I'm going to do 3, 3. So it means that we have to count 3 different cycles, and it will play on the third cycle. Is first cycle, not. Second cycle, not. Third cycle will play. There you go. And everything starts over. No, then no, and then yes. There you go. All right. I'm going to remove this so we can do it again. Now, what happens when you have a larger pattern? In this case, we only have 1 page. We only have 16 steps. How will it count? Well, it works the same. But in this case, a full cycle, if you have 64 steps, is going to be 64 steps. And I'm going to do just that. I'm going to go to function, I'm going to go to page, and if I keep pressing, let me just right there, I'm going to press page, page, page is going to be 64 steps. Now I'm going to get out of here, and I'm going to be going to the page, maybe number 4. And this is the last page. And I'm going to do the same thing we did right here. I'm going to add a trigger, I'm going to be holding it, and maybe I'm going to be doing, I don't know, something like 1 and 2, same thing that we did before. I'm going to move this and select 1 and 2. And since a cycle now, it's going to be I'm gonna do 2 cycles. So now a cycle is gonna be 64 steps, and we are saying it's going to play on the second cycle of 2 cycles. So if I play it, the first cycle, it will not play. And I'm, staying on the page number 4. This is the end of the first cycle, not playing. Now we are on the second cycle, so when we get to the page number 4, it should play. And it's going, playing. So again, that's how it works. And then everything starts over. We are on the first cycle again. Then it's going to end, not play. Going to go to the next one, second cycle. And this one, when it gets to page number 4, it will play. And there we go. All right. So again, this is how it works. You can go nuts right here. Just to give you an example, you can create variations, for example, on the third cycle of 5, something like that. And when you do things like this, it will make the pattern sound like not 64 steps. It's going to make it sound like a much larger type of sequence. Okay, so now it's time to talk about the pre and the not pre. So these are logical operators. If you come from the developing code world, well, this is like an if statement, pretty much. Pre reacts to whatever other thing that it's true. And then not pre, which is the line at the top, and then the pre, and we're going to see it in a minute, will be true if the other thing is false. I'm going to go to the 2, that's the snare. And I'm going to be adding the snare on the 5, and I'm going to be adding it on the 13. Now, if I play it back, it's going to be 5 and 13. And you know what? Just to have something going on in the background, I'm going to be adding a kick just to the floor, so we can see the snare when it plays. Cool. Now what I'm going to do, I'm going to make this 5, the number 5, to play on the second of 2 cycles. And I'm going to be using the AB. So if you didn't watch the previous section and you don't know how the AB conditional works, you need to go back and watch it. So I'm going to hold the 5, just hold it. I'm going to go to here and just go to the A and the B, keep scrolling until we find the 2 and the 2. There we go. We have 1, 2, 3. Then at some point, we're going to find the 2, 2. So since this 16 steps, the first cycle, this one will not play. Will not play. Sorry. And when it goes to the second cycle, the snare on the number 5 will play. And I'm going to put this to a test. I'm going to do play, not playing. Second cycle, it's playing. And everything starts over. So we know that, on one cycle at least, this one, the number 5, it's not playing. So what I'm going to do now, I'm going to go and add a snare on the number 7. If we play it, at this point, the 7 will always play. So, but in this one, I want to use a pre. So I'm going to stop it. Now I'm going to press the 7. I'm going to press and hold. I'm going to move this and notice that we have the pre, and then the not pre is the one that has a line at the top. I'm going to select the pre. So now this one, it's playing on the second cycle of 2 cycles, and this one, it's pre. This one, since it's a pre, it will be aware of the previous trick conditionals. And if something else that it's previous to the number 7, whatever it's right here or way before, if it's true, well, this one will react to it because this one listens to true. So if I play it, and if this one plays, this one will play because this is true. If this is true, this one is true. I'm going to be playing it, not playing, playing, not playing, playing. And again, that's the whole trick. If this one, the pre, finds something previous to this one that is true, is going to play. That's pretty much it. And it doesn't matter if it's 2 steps earlier, 7, 10, 64 steps. As long as something that's previous to the step it's true, this one will always be true. So the other one, the not pre, is the opposite. The pre looks for true, the not pre is going to look for false. I'm going to hold the trick, and now I'm going to change it to not pre, which is the line at the top, and then the pre. I'm going to just a release, and I'm going to be playing it. So remember, this one, it's looking for false. It will react for false. And if you think about this, the number 5, the first cycle, it's not playing, so it's false. So this one play when this one, it's not playing. I'm going to play it, playing, not playing, playing and not playing, not playing, playing, and then, the same thing over and over. And it's because, again, the not pre, it looks for false. Since this one is false, this one will be true, and when this is true, this one will be false. Now, some things that you need to be aware of. With the AB, we know how many cycles we need to wait until this one is playing. In this case, we are doing 2-2, so we can predict of this, that this one is going to play on the second cycle of 2 cycles. We know it. Now, the conditionals, this pre or not pre, they don't care about cycles. They only care about what's going on before this trigger, if it's true or if it's false. They don't care about the length of the pattern, if it's just 16 steps, 74, a million steps. As long as the trigger that comes before this conditional, the preconditional, is true or false, is going to react to it. If you put a not pre, maybe here, and then a pre after, to react to the not pre, it will not evaluate if the pre or not pre conditional that comes before. It will just ignore it. And you know what? We can do it. This one, it's pre. This one, it's nothing. I'm going to change it to maybe not pre. And I'm just going to show you what happens, which is pretty much nothing. I'm going to say not pre. And this one, remember, if you remember again, it's going to be pre. So it's pre and not pre. If I play it back, notice what happens. Nothing happens. This one is false. It will not play. And this one is true. And it will play. That's all. So they're not really looking for the previous ones. Remember that this one is pre. Is looking for true. So since this one is always false, it just doesn't care. It's just always be true. So you can use pre's whenever you use other types of conditionals and not pre's. Alright, so now we need to talk about the nay and the not nay. These ones are very similar to the pre's. Now, nay is not a shorthand of not, is neighbor. Yeah, the first time I was learning an Elektron device, I thought it was nay for not, something like that, but no, it's not, it's neighbor. So this one's what they will do, they will listen to some other conditionals on some other tracks. So they work on tracks, not really on triggers. For example, if a neighbor track, let's say I'm talking about the number 2, and the neighbor is going to be 3, if this one has a neighbor, an A conditional, this one is going to listen to what's going on the neighbor track. And if a neighbor track is true, nay will be true and not nay will be false. And if the neighbor track is false, nay will be false and not nay will be true. And I know it's just confusing like the pre, but it's actually pretty simple. So I'm going to create an example. I'm going to create a 4 in the floor, just like before. If I play it, we just get, again, a 4 in the floor. And I'm going to be adding a snare. So I'm going to go here, and I'm going to add 1 to the 5 and 1 to the 13. So we have, on the track number 1, we have a kick, and on the track number 2, we have a snare. Pretty simple. And right here, if you noticed, I'm giving you simple examples because I'm trying to teach and I'm not trying to show off. If you go to the web and you try to find some examples in how the conditionals work, they have a lot of things going on, different tracks, sounds, samples, and it's all very confusing. Right here, I'm creating something simple that you can identify because that's the whole point. So the track number 3, this one is a hat. And of course, the number 3 is a neighbor track of the snare, the track number 2. I'm going to go to the 6. I'm going to go to the 3, and I'm going to be adding just a trigger to the number 6. Right? So after the snare, this one is going to be playing a hat. Super simple. Now, I'm going to be going to the snare, which is the neighbor track of the hat, and I'm going to be adding a conditional. The pre's and the nays, they always need a conditional in order to react. In the case of the snare, I'm going to be holding the number 5, and I'm going to do the same thing we did before. I'm going to go all the way down, and I'm going to select 1 and then 2. So it's going to be playing the first cycle of 2 cycles. There we go. 1, 2. So now if I play it back, right? So that's what's going on. The first cycle, the snare plays, and the second one, it will not play. Right? So what I want to do, I want to go to the hat, and I want to use the nay or not nay. The nay is going to listen to whatever is going on the snare track in order to react. I'm going to go to the 6, I'm going to hold it, and I'm going to be selecting or making it nay. Let me find it first. There we go, nay. So nay is just like pre. it wants to be true. It's going to look for a true statement in the case of the snare. So if this one, the snare, is true, the hat will be true. But if the snare is false, the hat is going to be false. Let's put it to a test. I'm going to play it. There you go. When the snare plays, then the hat plays. And we're talking about different tracks. And this is how, why the nay exists. It looks for a conditional on the neighboring track. When it plays, the hat plays. And so on and on and on. So, of course, at this point, we could assume that the not nay is just, is going to do the opposite. I'm going to go to 6, and I'm going to make it not nay. So now, since this is not nay, when the snare plays, the hat is not going to play. And when this is not playing, then the hat will play. It's just maybe like your wife or your children. When you say yes, the other ones say no. And when you say no, the other ones will say yes. That's pretty much how it works. Maybe not the best analogy, but let's just put it to a test. There we go. So when the snare plays, the hat is not playing. And when the hat or the snare is not playing, the hat plays. And when the snare is not playing, the hat plays. So all the things that you need to take into account is that nay conditions or conditionals will ignore preconditionals. So pre ignores pre's and the nay ignore pre's. But nays will listen to other nays. That's the main difference with the pre's. So the track number 4, I guess this is a tom. Let's call it a tom. Is the track number 4 is tom, and this one is hat, and this one has a nay condition or conditional. So I'm going to be adding something to the tom, and I'm going to make it react to the conditional of the hat, because again, it's the neighboring track of whatever other track. So I'm going to go to the tom, and I guess I'm going to be adding a step, just a trigger on the step number 7, and on this one I'm going to make it nay. I'm going to go here, hold it, and I'm going to go to the other one and do nay. Since now the tom is a nay, remember it needs true. It's looking for true on the previous track, and this one only it's only true. And if you remember, it's not nay. It will be true when this snare is not playing, but it doesn't matter. When this one is true and when this one plays, the tom will play. When this one is not playing, the tom will not play. Let's put it to a test. There you go. Only if the neighbor track plays, then this one plays. Now, if I do the opposite, if I go to the toms and I make it not nay, well, again, it's just going to be the opposite. If this one is playing, this one is not going to play, and when this one not plays, this one's going to play. I guess I said the same thing. Let's put it to a test. I'm going to do play. There you go. The hat plays and the tom doesn't. And when the hat is not playing, then the tom does. But we are using, a nay conditional. We are using that condition, that logical operator. It's a logical operator. We are waiting for this track to give a response before this one can react. That's, again, the whole point. And this is, again, the main difference between the pre's. The pre's cannot listen to other pre's, but nays can listen to other nays. And just like the pre's, like I said before, you really need to be aware where you put your nays and where you put your pre's. They don't care about cycles. They only get what's true and false either on the previous triggers or on the neighboring track. That's all. They don't care about your cycles. They will never ever count. All right, so we just covered the most challenging parts of the hold conditionals. If you understood the pre and then the not pre, right now it's just going to be a walk in the park. So we need to talk about the first and then the not first. I'm going to go to the kick. I'm going to have a 4 on the floor. Just, something simple as that. I'm going to go to the snare. I'm going to do 5, and then I'm going to do 13. And if I play it, is the 4 on the floor. Cool. And it's only 16 steps just to make it easier. So what I want to do, I want to go to the 5. I'm going to go to the 5 of the snare. And I'm going to hold it. I'm going to go to the conditional. Let me just adjust the camera. There you go, a little bit bigger so you can see it. I'm going to hold the snare, the 5 of the snare, right? And I'm going to go to the conditions, and I'm going to keep scrolling until you see something that says first and then not first. And there you go. You can see first and then not first. First, I'm going to do first. And you're going to see that this is just pretty simple. So when you select first or not first, it means that it will play the first time and it will not play the rest of the time. And again, it doesn't care about cycles. Is as soon as you start the loop or the sequence, in the case of first, it will play the first and will never, ever, ever again play. And if it's not first, well, it will not play on the first, but it will always play after the first. So I'm going to play it. This is playing, and now it will never, ever play again. It doesn't care if you do 64 steps, a million steps, it will never play. And that's why it's called first. It will only play on the first cycle. I'm going to do stop. I'm going to go to the 5, and now we're going to test the other one. I'm going to say not first. And this is the opposite. If the other one was only playing on the first, we could assume that this one will always play on the one that is not the first. So if I play it, not playing on the first cycle, and then it will always play. And this is how the first and the not first works. All right, so super simple. Like I said before, right now it's just going to be super easy, a walk in the park. Well, the probability, depending on the probability, it's just gonna play or it will not play. That's pretty much it. And if you think about this is a good old random function. Every time the sequence it finds this trigger that has that condition, it will do the math and it will say, okay, so it has a 50-50 chance that this trigger is going to play. And it's just doing it right there in the moment. And if it's true, it's going to play. If it's false, it's not going to play. That's just how it works. Now, this is a trick condition. So if you add a probability conditional right here, and then you have a pre somewhere around here, or maybe a nay on the neighboring track, pre's and nays will react to this type of conditionals. For example, I'm going to go to the number 5 of the snare. And again, I'm going to hold it and I'm going to go to the conditionals and I'm going to go all the way to the percentages. If I do 100%, I'm going to go all the way to 100. Let me just get there. I'm going to do 99%. So if I do something like this, it will pretty much always play. Now, in the case of the tracks, you don't need to hold it. If this one is actually the conditional, is the track chance. It's a little bit different, but in this case, again, I'm going to hold it and move it, and make sure it's 99. So it's a little bit different from the other electrons, but notice that the snare, it's always playing. Now, what if I just stop it and make it a 50-50 chance? So sometimes it's going to play, and sometimes it will not play. Not playing. Not playing. Playing. Playing, not playing. So again, it's just a good old random type of thing. Now, what happens if I add a snare right here? Again, I'm going to be just adding a snare. I'm going to do maybe a pre or maybe a not pre. Why not? I'm going to go to not pre. Now, remember, this one, the not pre, it's looking for false. So when this one is not playing, this one will play. So it reacts to false. Now, if I play it, let's see what happens. This one plays. This one is not playing. This one is not playing. This one plays. Same thing. So there you go. So again, the pre will recognize the probability as a conditional and it will react to it. Same as the nays and everything else. All right, so now we need to talk about the fill. And this is the good old drum fill. And if you take a look right here at the bottom, it says scale and this is it says fill. And it's because this button is related. So what we can do right now, we can create a variation. That's the whole point. And the main difference of the fill mode is that the fill will only react when we say so. The other conditionals, the one that we just discussed, the fill, the first, the nay, the tree, the pre, and the AB, and so on, they need some kind of condition, or they need they really need something in order to trigger. In the case of AB, it's going to be triggering on a cycle, but it's going to be a very specific cycle. Maybe the 2 of 10, I don't know. The other ones, they need a true or false type of condition. Well, the fill will never ever react unless we say so. So let's just create something. I have, again, that 4 in the floor, that super dumb 4 in the floor, and I want to add a fill. Now, what I want to make this a fill. So I'm going to go right here and I'm going to make them fill. There we go, fill. And notice that we have the not fill as well. But in this case, I'm just going to make it fill. And as you could guess, the not fill is going to be the opposite of fill. So now if I play it, here's what happens. They are not playing. Now, how can we make them play? So what you will need to do, you will need to go to the grid recording and turn it off. That's just the first thing. So now, if I hold the page, they will play. But they will only play as long as I'm holding the page. If I release it, they will go back to not playing again. Now, on the other devices, on the other Electrons, you have a couple more options for the fill. I guess it's a little bit easier on those ones. And this one's just, you have less options, but I guess that's fine. So again, you need to hold the page in order to, trigger it. Now, the thing is that maybe you just want to latch it. You can go to the track, hold it, and then go to the page, and notice that this one stays on. So you're latching the fill mode. How can you get out? Press page and it will go out. Now the thing is that if you have 64 steps, if you have more pages, let's say, whenever you tap on the page, it's just going to go to the next page. So if you are latching the fill mode, to unlatch it, you can do track and page again. Alright, so that's how it works. Now what happens if I go again to the snare, and I'm going to go to grid recording, and I'm going to make them not fill, which is going to do the opposite. Now if I play it back and I press the page, this should be working. And it's not working. It's not doing the opposite. Why? Remember, grid recording off. And now they're not playing. And they play when I go out. Again, you can do the same trick and you can latch the fill mode. Alright, so that's pretty much it. Alright, so we are done with all the conditionals. If you like this and you learned something new, please like and subscribe. It's just free. And this channel is supported by viewers only. At this point, I have no sponsorship. So if you want to buy me a coffee to say thanks and help me keep the channel going on, you can. You have links in the description for PayPal, YouTube thanks, and Patreon.